Hello, AO Nation. I am back. This is Greg D'Amico, and I am one of your mentors. And with that, hello. It took a second to kick in. I got started before. So, hello, AO Nation. Again, if this didn't take the first time, Greg D'Amico here with my company's Efficients, and I don't think I did a good job last time giving you some background for context, but I have a software company. It's called Efficients. We do SaaS, which is software as a service. We do mobile app development, and we do e-commerce development with a lot of deep type of data integration and so forth within the context of mobile and e-commerce and SaaS. So I also have a background in investments. I had an investment firm for 20 years, started a mutual fund, rode the wave up in the late 90s and rode it back down, and had a lot of great success with that. Sold it off, and even before I sold it, I saw the future being connectivity through software. So I went to India in 2004, set up my own office over there, and I've been doing software development. It wasn't mobile app at the time; they weren't out there, but we did a lot of web application and other type of ERP type work and so forth. So with that, that gives you a little context of where I'm coming from and so on and so forth. I'm a consummate entrepreneur. I've started multiple business, and within the software space, I've started multiple software applications or attempted to put out multiple different ideas and applications that will help the world in some way. So last time I told you before that I was going to provide an opportunity to have some of my background and integrate some of that before I jump into the questions. And last time we talked about BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goal. Okay, that comes from one of my favorite books, Good to Great. Okay, it's the old version, one of the original versions of this book that came out in 2001, and Jim Collins is what he's done with his research. It's not about just his thinking. It's about research that laid the framework for looking at companies that you had two companies, and they both had stock performance and that was compatible to the market. And then all of a sudden, one of the sister companies went like this, and the other company and the stock market trended along a much smaller growth trajectory. And with that, what you saw is what did those companies they took off? He did like 13 of them. What did they take off? What caused them to take off? What were the synergies? What were the similarities and so forth that allowed those companies to become great as opposed to just being a good company? Doing market performance, or instead of doing market performance, accelerate it. One of those things was a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. That's creating a goal out there that's 10 to 20 years out. That's way out. It's a big crapshoot. It's a big, it's a big vision. It has some purpose behind it. As I told you last time, like John F. Kennedy in 61 saying that by the end of this decade, we're going to put a man on the moon. That aligned everybody and put him in a direction. So I talked about BHAGs last time. We're going to flow into this time into the flywheel concept. Flywheel concept is very interesting because it allows you to create synergies and spinning around ideas that once you do this idea, this idea, this idea, and this idea, they push on each other and they start spinning and they start creating momentum. And I'm going to read you something from the book because it creates more emphasis when I do around flywheel. So picture this. A huge heavy flywheel, a massive metal disc mounting horizontally on an axle with 30 feet about 30 feet in diameter, 2 feet thick, and weighing about 5,000 pounds. Now imagine that your task is to get the flywheel rotating on the axle as fast and as long as possible. Pushing with great effort, you get the flywheel to inch forward, moving almost imperceptibly at first. You keep pushing, and after 2 or 3 hours of persistent effort, you get the flywheel to complete one entire turn. You keep pushing, and the flywheel begins to move a bit faster. And with continued great effort, you move it around a second rotation. You keep pushing in a consistent direction. 3 turns, 4, 5, 6. The flywheel builds up speed. 7, 8. You keep pushing. 9, 10. It builds momentum. 11, 11, 12, moving faster with each turn, 20, 30, 50, 100. Then, at some point, breakthrough. The momentum of the thing kicks in your favor, hurling the flywheel forward, turn after turn, whoosh, its own heavy weight working for you. It's pushing. No, you're not pushing any harder than the first rotation, but the flywheel keeps going faster and faster. Okay, so that's right out of the book, Good to Great. And what that tells you, or gives you an idea of what happens when you have a flywheel in motion. And by having a BHAG, what you're doing is you're aligning everybody. So did you visualize them pushing on that flywheel? All a group your team all pushing together. Well, a lot of organizations, they got people on one side, and then they got people on the other side of one of those fins in the flywheel, and they're pushing against each other, not helping to get forward momentum. And with a BHAG and other aspects of what's in the book Good to Great, they figure out how to get everybody on the same side and everybody pushing so that you have a constant forward progress going in the right direction and getting your spins and building that momentum. So the Good to Great was written back in early 2000s, 2001 I think it was its first release. And with that, recently, within just the past year, Jim Collins wrote a very small, condensed version of just the flywheel concept. So after I talk about this, if you have an interest, then check it out. But I just want to give people the basis of how business works and things that happen in business and things that can benefit your business and something to think about. Now, AOers, okay, I'm an EO, so I love the idea of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, and AO, Accelerators Organization, working together to help each other out. I understand AO companies a lot of times are in startup mode. And thinking about the flywheel right now is not something you need to be doing if you're early stage. Remember, you got to get your idea and strategy of where you're going. You got to build a team. You got to get the right people on the bus and the right people in the right seats on the bus, as talked about in the Jim Collins book. So you got to have those things in play. You got to have some processes built out to get your company really humming along. And once you get it really humming along, then you want to make sure this idea about having a flywheel for its forward momentum and trajectory to really take off and become a great company is having a flywheel in motion. So let's look at an example of a flywheel, and one it's a very good example because it's something that we've all seen. If you've been around the past 20 years and not been on another planet, you know the power and the stock performance of Amazon and what it has done. Okay, and so back in right after Good to Great came out, Jeff Bezos called Jim Collins and had him come visit the company. And with that, he got a team together and they did some brainstorming for a couple of days, and they created a flywheel. And this is Jim's interpretation of it. It may not be exactly what Amazon did, but something like this that you can look at and see. So what is a flywheel look like? So here we go. Okay. Now, if you can see that, what we have is like the Amazon flywheel in the middle, and then you got different pieces that push and help each other continue to move around and move forward. And we can start, you can really start anywhere, but one of the main things is to lower prices on more offerings here at the top. Okay, lower prices on more offerings. Okay, you get more offerings and you get more things in, and you can bring the price down on them because you're building momentum with the amount and quality that you're moving through your warehouses or getting access to vendors. That's going to help bring down prices. Increase customer visits as the next turn on the flywheel. If you can lower prices, then you can increase more customer visits on the flywheel. That's going to continue to push it. Attract more third-party sellers. You're bringing more people into your ecosystem, and when you do bring them into the ecosystem, you have more options for people, which continues to build on the excitement and interest of coming into the Amazon environment. And from there, you're going to grow your revenues per fixed cost. So the more money that you can spend, and this is a metric that they're using, that they analyze, and the more money that you're moving before around the fixed cost of, say, your warehouses, and you may have seen one. I did an actual tour with my EO forum at the one outside of Chattanooga. Tennessee, and it was a phenomenal experience to see them in action, see all the processes moving around, see all the inventory and where they store things and how they get it into the containers and into the bins and get it shipped out. It's just really, really mind-boggling of what it takes to make all that happen. So, but then that pushes back again up into the lower pricing and more offerings. So each time it continues to rotate around. You do one and you get the other one, you get the other one, you get the other one until they continue to help each other and they continue to build more momentum. And as you saw with the story, things keep spinning faster and faster and provide an opportunity for a company to grow into a mega brand like Amazon has. And in some different books that have been written about key execs at Amazon, they attribute a lot of their success to this flywheel concept. So something to think about. As I said, I want to add certain things to our conversations as I do mentoring sessions. That's background. Instead of just taking the questions, I want to give you a little bit more meat, a more basis of business in general, and how I've looked at my businesses over the years, and how I've incorporated things from Good to Great and other great books. I think Good to Great is a Bible. It's a must-read, is a key resource to understanding business in general and allowing you to push your companies in the right direction. And when you understand those principles, other things just seem to more easily fall in place and allow for you to have the opportunity for bigger successes. So, with that, let's start with the first question. Okay, first person is Jonathan, let's see, Abercorn, it looks like. Hebercorn, I think. Okay, so Jonathan asked, are any specific accounting or legal challenges about paying software contractors outside of the United States? Example, India, Europe, Canada. Business description, another background of the question is, he says, Intrazin, a team of software architects that specialize in digital transformation of HR systems and processes. Reason for question. Sales pipeline looking good and expanding consulting workforce to help implement future projects. Want to reach out to people I've worked with in the past that are absolute rock star independent consultants, some of which are international. Okay, well, that's very right in line with how I work and what I do. So, as far as paying and accounting and legal challenges, what I would say is, first of all, accounting-wise, that one advantage is you don't have to send out a 1099. You're submitting a payment to a company outside, and it's just payment to a business, but it's not a U.S. business, so you get rid of your 1099. The one thing that is a little bit of an issue is cost-wise is that I wire the money to my teams actually, and so I send a wire that I've given all the instructions to my bank. They have it already in place, and what I do is I email the bank, given my banking relationship. You may have to call them, you can email them, and they tell them how much money I'm sending to which team that I'm sending it to. Okay, and with that they wire, and wiring costs depending on your bank can be $25, $30, up to $50, maybe more, depending on your banking relationship. But that just simplifies the process for me, gets the money to them right away. There's other ways to do this. There's ways to pay, but I'm sending good chunks of money. I'm sending $10,000 to $20,000 at a time to my team, and with that, it's best to do a international wire like I do. Another form of payment, smaller doses and smaller contractors that you may be paying, is to use PayPal. Okay. Also, what's coming out there for perspective and so forth, people that may have some experience in the space, is to use some type of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, for example. You guys may have utilized Bitcoin, but Bitcoin could be a way to pay vendors if they're on the same wavelength. But a lot of people aren't in that space yet. I've read about it, I've explored it, or I've looked at it a little bit. I haven't dug into the actual process about doing it, something I probably will do in the future, because it could save, you, depending on how many wires you send out and so forth, it could save $1,000, $2,000 a year in cost. So there's other stuff coming down the horizon on payments that are going to make things a little bit attractive too. So just keep your eyes open for that. As far as legal challenges, Um, you usually are paying a company in another environment, or you're paying some type of company in another entity. What is kind of like our LLC in India, for example, it's called a private limited. And with that, you just have to work with that private limited in a way that meets their guidelines, and the people that you're working with can tell you if there's particular guidelines and so forth. Not usually any legal issues unless you get into trouble with them, and then you're opening up a whole can of worms. But for the most part, there's not a lot of legal problems with paying it. I haven't run into anything in over all the years I've done it, done paying money to other areas. It's pretty clean. So thanks for that question. Next question is submitted by Law Jackson. Law asks, what processes do you use to find as well as manage a team of virtual workers? His business description and background question are: we create animated marketing videos for marketing companies and startups. I'm trying to translate from one man band to a business owner with a sales team and a fulfillment team. I need to hire and then manage a new team members, and looking for strategies you use to do that in your company. Okay, Law. So good question here with looking at this process, and very contextual for me. So one, and I guess the best one is to start out with is referrals. Okay, if it's possible to find somebody that's worked with somebody to ask those questions and get an idea from a referral standpoint who they're working with and what they're using, because there's a lot of unknowns when you're losing international things and you're sending money internationally, as I just talked about in that. Well, if you send it over there, you're not going to get it back. So if it is a problem that's not like kind of the U.S. guarantees, you got to work with people in a way, unless you're going through a site. There's sites out there that allow you to hire contractors, that like 99 Designs and many others that allow for you to that if something bad happens and somebody bails on you or blows up or something, you have a little bit of recourse. But finding your own team or a group of people to work with, that is, or an individual to work with, it's very important to do on a referral basis. Also, I'd approach it from interviewing them, just like you're interviewing a new employee. Okay, and the processes over time that I have experience with that have been very helpful is to ask questions from experience. Okay, tell me about a time that you had this happen. Okay, this being, tell me about a time that you built an application, a mobile web app that integrated with accounting software. Okay, so they got somebody that wants to build a mobile app. They need that mobile app to integrate with accounting software, and so they want to make sure that I have the capability to do that. Then, if they're asking me that question, then I got to talk about a time that I've done that with a previous situation and how I did it. And if I hem and haw, I don't really have clear answers and so forth, I don't have a lot of experience there. And so that helps you to create understanding around it. Show me what you've done. Show me scenarios of you doing something. That can be very beneficial. Um, and then I would say start with something small. Okay, use a little bit of work, just a small little project that you can get going with. That it doesn't break the bank if something goes wrong. That you can get some experience with. Even if we have great processes when we hire somebody, there's no hiring process that's 100%. So you can do a lot of work. You can use the Who method. That is a great method and process for top grading process, which underneath top grading comes the Who method that has a approach and a process for hiring. Even when you use something like that, it's very defined and detailed and gets you down a path of being a lot closer to that 50-50 guess on somebody, 80-85%. You still do not know for sure until you start working with somebody the actual outcomes that you're going to get. Seeing their experiences, seeing them involved in your culture, and so forth. There's a lot there to consider. So the other thing I would say to this is try to stay away from like one man bands. Okay, one person teams. I can't tell you how many clients I have right now that have some type of failed project that they started with a one-off person and something happened. Something being that person got too over their head in the project, thought they could do the work and couldn't. Ends up that they price the project in a way that they're not making enough money. They have to bail and they have to go to work for somebody else. Or they take on too much work and they can't get it all done and it just stretches your project out. I have had all those examples come to me and say this is what's happened to them. And actually, recently, I am in the process of quoting out some work that I talked to a guy about a year ago, and then he kind of just went off. So caught up with him later, said, hey, we picked somebody else. I said, okay, good luck. And they just got back to me about a month ago. And they said, hey, Greg, really liked to work talking to you before. We ended up going with somebody else. We went with somebody else because they had experience in this work that we've done. And we thought you guys could do the work. But in regard to that, he just had done some stuff in the painting world. And we were trying to build this painting application and franchise it out. And come to find out that it was a one-off guy. He was doing the work. Well, he gets COVID and he dies. Okay? So when you don't have a team in place, there's issues that can come up with working with somebody. If you have, especially with something on software, that when you're hiring somebody to work with you and there's many aspects of the process. You got the requirements gathering process, which requires certain talents. You have the development process. You have the testing process. Okay, and you have the implementing into a server process and finishing, finalizing the product. You have all these different steps that takes different talents and different people. Now, it's not to say one person can't do a lot of those steps, but you got a big, complicated project. Having a team that can have supporting each other and have strengths in certain areas to help create assurances that that project is going to be complete is an important thing to be asking and thinking about. So, a lot of key things there from my experience, and I've had people come to me, bad situation. They spent a bunch of money, and all of a sudden they got to start over again because they weren't asking us questions. They didn't whether from a referral, from other standpoints. So anyway, keep that in mind. Next question, Brad Coleman. Brad asked, "What do I do when an equity member of mine isn't pulling their weight?" Okay, business description and background. I have a business partner who has some equity in my company. I feel as if I am still doing everything needed. I feel as if I am still doing everything needed on the day-to-day startup process. How can I start the conversation that I need some help getting things off the ground without demanding help? Hurting the business relationship. Any advice on team building, even when they don't work for you, but with you? Yeah, okay, this is an interesting situation. I've run into it. I've experienced it. I know what you're talking about, and I know the struggle. It is a struggle, okay? So I'll give you some thoughts and aspects of things that I've done that could help. None of them's guaranteed. It's different things that you can try. It depends a lot on people and the things that you have, in the way they work and how they think. So let's see. So one of the things that I would do is, what kind of processes do you have in place to create alignment? Okay, we had a weekly meeting that would allow for us, and we had software that we use, that when you would go into a meeting, what is the things that we want to accomplish, say, for the quarter? We would go into the meeting, or let's back up. Let's say we'd have the all-day meeting for the start of the quarter, and we would all plan what everybody needs to do. Now, this is a process where you create the team together is interacting and creating goals about what needs to be done. The partners are there, your key management people are there, and everybody's, presenting ideas. Then everybody needs to be accountable, and you got to need to be writing it up on the wall, on the board, on something, on a pad that says, okay, to get this goal done, who's going to be responsible for it? And you like that in the sense of volunteer, not telling somebody, okay, Greg, you're going to do this. No, okay, Tom, you're going to do this. Or Brad, you're going to do this. You would be saying, okay, team, this is one of our goals. Who can be accountable to make sure this gets done? And get people to ante up and say that they're going to do that. When you have buy-in by people, that's going to create a lot more. It's going to go further to get you closer to getting somebody to get something done. That's a good first step. And then from there, you're going to create this process where we have this weekly meeting. And during that meeting, we're going to say, you're going to tell us what you did coming into the meeting or what you were supposed to do. And then when you get into the meeting, did you get it done? It's very hard for people to sit in a room with their peers okay, or now sit online with a group of their peers looking at each other. Make sure that you use video on Zoom or whatever meeting approach you take. And it's very important for that when you tell somebody you're going to do something and you come back into a meeting and you sit there and got to tell them that you haven't got it done, it creates an immense amount of peer pressure that you are not holding up your weight and you're not pulling and being accountable to the team. And it creates a sense of, I need to get this done because I don't want to go into that meeting. I don't want to tell people that I'm a slacker, I'm a lacker, not somebody that gets my part and I'm not pulling my weight. So it's a huge, huge opportunity for creating an environment where you get accomplishment and getting things done. Okay, I used it, and when I had a full team of people, I went from getting 20% of my quarterly goals done to getting to 85, 90% of them done, and that was a big push forward for us. So let's see what else that I wanted to say about this. Okay, do this. Also, you can say you can utilize the aspect of when somebody is out there and you're having this group environment, you can ask them what they think. Okay, so in this process with your partner, there's an opportunity to just say, "Hey, I'm thinking about what I'm thinking that this is going to help the company. What do you think?" Get them to open up and share their thoughts and opinions. Well, if we do that, okay, so now we're in agreement on should we do that or not because we both talked about it and we agreed. Now, how do you think we should get it done? Okay, who is going to do the work on that? And then when you, Brad, you update and say, well, I can do this piece of it that'll help it get it done. Kind of just wait, pause. It's natural for them to say what part they can do to get it done. And if they don't, then you ask them, hey, this is going to be a big task for us as a company. And if this is a goal that we want to set for ourselves, then what is it and how is it that you can help us get it done? But anytime that you can create an environment of where people are ending up and giving themselves buy-in to a respective goal or a respective task, it's going to help you guys. It's going to help all you business owners and movers out there to get things more, get the team working together, get more of a group energy, get a little bit of a spin of the flywheel. Okay, so next question. Okay, Christopher Joseph. He asked, his question is, do successful people or people with successful mindset ever have a day of loss of motivation or focus? Do they work through it regardless, or do they take a break, and if so, how long? A breather, for example, 15 minutes, an hour a day. Business description and background. This is something I've struggled with as a young entrepreneur for a while, and while it doesn't happen often, when it does, I am not sure whether to push through or even though I don't feel efficient or whatever, it's my body telling me to take a break so I can reset. My current peers tell me it's the second one, but I am not so sure. After talking to Sean about the broke mindset, I believe the need to take a reset break is just my broke mindset trying to push me away from discomfort, but would like to know for sure so I can tackle this long-standing issue with a vengeance. This seems like a mental toughness issue, which makes me believe Andre Norman might be an appropriate fit, but I welcome any insight from any of the peers or mentors of AL. Andre Norman is awesome. He's my friend and business partner, and I recommended him for AO, and now he's a mentor. So if you can hear Andre's story and work with him in any way and get from him, the guy has tremendous background and knowledge to push through it and fight and go after big goals. Can you imagine sitting in prison and telling yourself that, you know what, I'm over this? He's in solitary confinement. He says, I'm over this, and you know what? I'm getting out and I'm going to Harvard. And it took 8 years to get out of prison from there, and then it took the next process and steps to get him to a level in the world that he was able to not only be a part of Harvard and their system, go and teach at the London Business School, and a lot of other accomplishments. So anyway, to your question, Christopher, what you're asking is a guarantee. It's human nature. Okay, there's nothing wrong with what you're experiencing. There's nothing wrong with you for what you're experiencing. It is part of what we all experience as we push forward to get big things done. And it's in life, there is no straight lines. Okay, straight lines are just man-made things. In nature and aspects of everything, it's always a windy road, a windy path. Look at any river out there. You have a few somewhat straight ones, but they always have bends and curves. And some more of them, they go like this. Okay, I'm living in Tennessee on the Tennessee River. We'll take boats up to the football games, and when you do, it's like a 15-minute drive in the boat. It's like 45 to an hour, depending on how fast your boat is, because you're going through all these curves and windy aspects. That's the way our life is. It winds just like the curves in a river, and with that, our energy is the same way. When you put out energy, it'll come in waves and it comes in spurts. Okay, so my experience and the things I've done is that I usually take a mild break and I work in focused time frames. Okay, in the morning is best for me, so I align with my team in the morning and I get a lot of things accomplished and what needs to be done, what and so forth. Because later in the day, my mind teeters off and I lose energy. So I spend the time focused in an environment when my normal rhythm is going to work for me. Some people, that's in the evening time. They gel and they energize right before bedtime. And so writing that paper, writing that email, working on that project is going to be accomplished at that time. So work with your normal rhythms, and then also think about balance in your life. Okay, from that is, what is it that do you have? Are you doing physical activities? Are you doing mental activities? And are you doing spiritual activities that's creating balance for you? Okay, if you're drained, then are you working out enough? Are you doing the walks? Are you doing the runs? Are you doing the cycle? What is it that can get your heart up a little bit and so forth, and get you to a level of energy that will create more stamina and output for you down the line? Okay, rest is very important too. Sleeping and rest. When you work out, people think that rest is counter to your workout. Actually, it's synergistic. Okay, you do a burst of workout and you rest so your body can be ready to go for another burst of workout, and so on and so forth. So thinking about that within your work environment, work for a burst and then rest. Okay, is that a breather? Is that something that is just taking a few minutes? Is that taking a walk? Is that I go out on my deck out here? One of my offices is here in Fort Lauderdale. I'm on the Intercoastal. I go sit out on the deck and I just chill, looking at the water, watching the boats go up and down. That's my mental getaway. And so, what is it that you have? Do you have a backyard? Do you have a big tree? Do you have a place to walk? Do you just whatever it may be? Get out, get some fresh air. That's always. Other things you can do is breathing exercises. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that with the next question. But look at different things that are out there that you can experience that work for you. It has to work for you. You can't do somebody else's routine and feel that you're going to be in rhythm, or you're going to feel the consistency of it if you're trying to follow somebody else. You have to do what works with you. Also look at what you're eating. Okay, is your eating causing your sugar to jump really high and then crash? Okay, make sure your diet is appropriate, and there's everything out there. I ain't going to talk to you about diet because there's so much out there about diet that follows something that works for you and doesn't allow for spikes and crashes within taking lots of sugar. Okay, get some protein in you in the morning potentially, and look at other things that could be affecting those spikes that you're having. So I would look at a combination of things. It's not one thing you should be doing. It's a combination of rest, sleep, activity, physical activity, and so forth that's going to help you. Okay, next question. Let's see. Allison, let's see. Koniagi, I think is how you say it. Sorry, Allison. Koyanhei. So Allison asked, question, what are some things you do to prevent stress in your life during this pandemic? Okay, that's very appropriate for the previous question. Business description and background of question. I own a digital marketing agency. It was easy for me to handle stress before the pandemic. I would take hikes, go out with friends, shop, and do things to get my mind off of things. Now that it's not safe to do any of these activities, and now even the hikes are closed in our state, I'm finding it very difficult to de-stress. Any tips from any mentors who have gone through this economic downturn while running a business? Thank you for your time and expertise. Yes, that's great question. Great, very important for all of us to be able to de-stress. And same as what Christopher was asking in the previous question. Like, how do you get rid of some of those blips in your energy? Definitely, this de-stressing aspect is part of stress. Can cause your mind to flatten out, can allow your brain waves to not work right. So dealing with that is very important. So I was fortunate during COVID. I used a personal trainer, and given that our gyms were shut down, there was an opportunity where I could use my personal trainer still, and I was going to the gym 3 times a day. Couldn't go to the ocean, couldn't go to the pool, couldn't go because I was down in Fort Lauderdale during this time period, and so I started walking to the gym. That got me outside. It was like it's like a mile and a half, and I just chilled and nice walk. That would cause me to de-stress, get me limbered up, get the blood flowing, and get me ready for my workout. And then I would work out with the trainer. Okay, that was a great aspect for me to keep flowing, keep going, keeping things moving, keeping my muscles stimulated, and so forth. And that's going to help bring down stress. Okay, so what you're talking about, I had that opportunity. Maybe you didn't. Maybe a lot of others probably didn't. I think my situation was kind of unique. So I'm fortunate to have the people in the environment to allow that to happen. So what can you do? Okay, before I started, when I was in Knoxville and I was doing a lot of my workouts, I would be members of a couple gyms, but I got into really have this area in my house where I could work out. And I started using a program called Metabolic Prime. Okay, look that up, Metabolic Prime. And it's a DVD set or an online set, and it's nominal. It's like 35, 45 bucks, something like that. And when you get it, you get like 4 different levels of training sessions, and they're like 20 minutes a piece. Okay, you can take and you can buy you some weights on Amazon, like some 8 pounds, 12 pounds, 15 pounds, or depending on your size. You can, if females may want to do 3 pounds, 5 pounds, 8 pounds, or so forth. Doesn't matter. Whatever your level are, male, female, is you know kind of where your base strength is, but you're going to do a lot of it. You're going to do like 20-minute set, or you're going to do a 15-minute set of work, and then like a 5-minute cardio at the end. And you're going to do use the weights to do like a squat, curl, and then you're going to do a squat, curl, press, squat, curl, press, decline. So something like that. You can do it inside, you can do it outside. You don't need a lot of space, just need a little area, your computer, a DVD player. Combination of all that can allow for inside activity, and great. It not only does your cardio, it does your weight training for you. So I loved it. I did it for a couple years when I was in Knoxville before I got my place in Lauderdale, and I started using a personal trainer. I worked out all my years without a trainer. I finally got one. I felt like I wasn't pushing myself as hard as I could. I just got into that stale routine, and so I did something else to stimulate that, and that was for me to get a personal trainer. This type of workout is great for getting the heart going and getting the muscles pumped. Calls it metabolic prime because it primes your body. You're shocking your system with this ongoing of doing these things over and over. You do it for you got 4-minute intervals where you do a set, then you turn around and do the same thing for another set, another set, another set, and it really breaks down certain areas of your body that grow back. When they do, it stimulates your metabolic system. So the other thing that I would recommend, can be done anywhere, can do at home by yourself, even with other people around, is a breathing exercise. Some people call it meditation. Let's just call it a breathing exercise for simplicity that we can all grasp. And all you do is figure out a count that works for you. Is it a 5 count, 8 count, 10 count? What you're going to do is you're going to breathe into that count, okay? And then you're going to hold to that count, and then you're going to exhale to that count. So it's something like this, okay? Counting, I'm going to count out loud, but you would be counting in your head. So you'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? If your lung got big lung capacity, you want to go up your number. The number doesn't matter. It's respective of you that you could get a full breath in, hold, and then exhale. You want to do that like 6 cycles of that. Okay? And then you just want to sit there and relax and be in peace. And what you'll find is that you do become more relaxed, you do become more at peace, your brainwaves slow down a little bit, and it takes off a lot of stress. I started this 20 years ago, and I built up to other types of meditation, other types of breathing exercises, and that is something that I would recommend. Don't stigmatize this by calling it meditation or anything else. Just it's breathe. We all breathe. You're right. If you're not breathing, you're not here. You're not listening right now. So we all breathe, and when we do, it has an aspect on the body that circulates the blood, causes a lot of flow, causes a lot of things to happen, and that breathing is going to be very beneficial for you into calming you down, de-stressing you, reducing down a lot of the stimulators that take place when you're stressed. Okay, and with that, you're going to have a much better opportunity. So working out, breathing, and just getting exposure. Some people can walk. If you can't walk you can't walk on a nature trail, go walk a shopping center, okay? Or go walk a subdivision. Just get outside and breathe and walk, and that's going to help you in your thing. So, right now we got to be a little creative. We have to improvise. We have to do the things that we need to do to deal with the unusual circumstances. You got to think of these circumstances as a situation that happens with your business, okay? This COVID is a good test for what happens to us in life in general. It's a lot smaller, and we notice it less, but it happens in our business and our life. And in our business, we always got a roadblock, guys. Always. There's always something that comes up. Something stops us, something trying to hold us back, something there, and you just breathe through it and you work through it. You figure out, okay, here's a wall in front of me now. I'm going to go over it. I'm going to go around it. Am I going to go underneath it? Or am I going to go through it? And that is an aspect from you that you are trying to figure out to minimize your energy. How can I get around this wall? That way, so forth. Okay? So, here we go. Last question. Somebody you probably don't know. So, the question here is AkaShawnThomas. Sean asks, what are the costs of building a mobile app these days? Okay, Sean, thanks for putting that out there and allowing me to share a little bit about people that may need a mobile app or some type of web application, but we'll focus on the mobile app. Of course, the business context here is what are the variables that come into play that affect cost when building a mobile app today? What are the time frames I should expect and how to find the right mobile app vendor? Okay, first question you want to ask when you're building a mobile app is that does it need to be both iOS and Android? And if it is, then you're going to build two. But that also relates to the question of is it going to be a native app or is it going to be something like an HTML5 cross-browser app? So I don't do any cross-browser apps. I did one about 5 or so years ago. Bad experience with it. It changed the dynamics of what happens when you pull it up on different types of phones and different browsers or different systems. And when you do, it would distort the makeup and it caused a lot of rework. Native apps are great when you're pulling a lot of data and you need a lot of speed for the interaction that you're going to have with the app. If you create an app that is just like your brochure, which there's not really a reason to do that, we have websites for that. An app usually serves some type of purpose. It's a buying app. It's accessing information. It's organizing inventory or something. It helps your company in some way that if the sales rep's out, you work for a medical sales company, you may want an app to because you've got so many products that you're sitting in front of a doctor, in front of a team of people, and they're asking about what you have available, how much you have in quantity, or how much you have in inventory. Then you can pull up the app. You can get the number. You can get the quantity you have that could be shipped. You can get the actual more specs on the app. So it helps to create some aspect of getting access to information or pricing or something. So to build an app, if it's a real basic app, you can build an app in 5 or 6 weeks. Okay, it could be a more complicated app with a lot of data integration. It could be 12 or 14 or longer, but I usually build apps within that time range right there. Most people come to me with the things they need. I build them within that time frame, so it doesn't take forever to get them done. So when they're more complicated, that's because you're usually connecting to a data source where you're pushing and pulling information. Okay, thinking about, a common thing is you may want to go use Fandango to go to the movies. You go to the movies, you've got to look up the movie, Okay, it's got to go to the different theaters. It's got to get data from them, the number of seats that have been sold, what are the prices you're paying for it. So there's a lot of interaction there and a lot of work that needs to be done by the app to update and get new information and connect with another server and pull and push information back and forth. You buy this ticket, it's got to go back into the database and say we've sold so many tickets so you don't oversell for that theater. So a combination of things like that needs to be looked at for how complicated it's going to be, how much data is going to be pushed and pulled, and if how real time is it going to be too. Do you need this information right away? In that situation, it's got to be pretty real time because you're buying the app. You got to know if the seats available. So there's a lot of interactions to make that happen too. So you normally build a basic app for $2,000 to $2,500 for one of them. Okay, that would be just like the iOS or the Android. So to get two of them, very, very, very basic. Just a lot of brochure stuff, not a lot of data integration. You can probably build for around $5,000. More data integration, it's going to work you up to being somewhere in the $10,000 to $15,000 range per app. So it just really depends. It's all about a particular set of requirements and looking at those requirements to determine what's going to take place. So with that, I have answered all the questions, and again, I'm here to help with any type of emails or chats that you'd want to put up and move forward. What else I can help with is to reach out if you need it. Okay, just reach out and share what's going on in your world, and would love to help people in building business. As I said before, EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, is something I've done for 20 years. And when you can be around a group of peers, when you can be around mentors, and in EO you have people who are all like on a level of having a certain size business, but then there's people that have really big business, $1 billion businesses, $100 million businesses, or $1 million business. And anybody in that role can be a mentor to somebody else and help each other out. And it's a very, very powerful way to learn and grow. I've prevented so many mistakes. I've helped share people that help prevent them mistakes. And so it's just working to help each other out. So utilize AO to help you, and utilize your mentors, utilize your peers in AO, utilize your mentors in AO, and learn and grow to your success. Everybody take care. Till next time, Greg D'Amico. Over and out.